He's been hurt, but so have these leaders. I mean, Mr. Blunt didn't help himself by saying I would have handled it differently, and Boehner dropped the dime on him. None of them look like loyalists. Let me say this, Joe. I mean, look, we are now hearing that this flamer, Mr. Foley, was going after kids as early as 1998. I mean, you knew Foley. Did you know he was this kind of flamer who was after Pages? I mean, certainly you knew him better than Hastert did. And apparently, this was not known by the folks in the Republican caucus.
No, well, I certainly didn't know anything about it, but this flamer, as you call him, this flamer's chief of staff went to Mr. Hastert in 2003 and started warning them as early as 2003 that Mr. Foley had serious problems, and they didn't act on it.
All right, but look, here, which column? Hastert's got a
I will
point
tell
here.
you this, Pat. If a chief of staff came to me, if Mark Foley's chief of staff came to me in 1998, and told me that this was going on, I'll tell you, I and most decent people, you would have gone to the speaker, and if he didn't do anything, you would have held a press conference.
All right, that's my point. Apparently, ABC knew this a year ago. If the reporters knew this a year ago and they didn't report it, they don't care about those kids. They're waiting to drop it in the fall election. In this case, Hastert's got a point. If people give a hoot about the kids and they know about it, and they wait for a year to dump it, do they really care about these kids? I don't think so. And let me make one more point. Ms. Pelosi has marched in gay pride parades with the North American Man-Boy Love Association, NAMBLA, who are pedophiles who are trying to get the laws repealed for sex between men and boys. If she's been marching with pedophiles, is she credible standing up there saying, I'm shocked that some Republican is after 17-year-old Pages?
Rachel Sklar, in the end, will a blame ABC News, George Soros, Democratic Party strategy work?
No, it definitely will not. We have to go back to the original principle, which is the fact that a predator, and I don't think his sexuality is germane here, whether or not he's quote-unquote a flamer, I'm not too down with that language, he's a predator. That's the issue here. He's a predator who was preying on kids who are working on Capitol Hill.
Well, and Rachel, apparently, if you look at these latest reports out, it looks as if Mark Foley, a guy I knew since 1994, and liked personally, was using this Page program as a sex farm. I mean, it was a farm system where he was waiting for these people to become 18 and then set up these sexual trysts with them, right?
Precisely. He was a predator, and his party enabled him. His party did not address it, and that's where the blame lies. That's where the blame belongs.
Let me interrupt right there. I agree. Anybody that knew this guy was a predator, didn't turn him in and get rid of him, should be out of the Congress. But they should also be out of journalism. If they knew this predator's running all over the place and they say, we don't care about that, let's wait till October and dump it on the Republicans.
Rachel, is that fair?
I don't think
politics.
that's a fair characterization. From my understanding is that there was information kind of out there, and people needed to put it together.
Well, that's exactly what the Republicans are saying. We needed to put it together. For heaven's sakes, if ABC, who knew it, and they say we needed to put it together, if they're innocent, why aren't Republicans who say we didn't put it together?
There's a distinction,
one party had information and the other part had to find the information. One party sat on it and the other party ferreted it out.
We're going to find that out.
Michael Crowley, we may find all that out. We'll find it out after I predict after the election where this information first came from. But let me ask you, Michael, if you look at the House polls that are plummeting for Republicans, the Senate polls that are plummeting for Republicans, isn't there a growing feeling on Capitol Hill that the Republican Party, which now only has an 18% approval rating, is going to lose both chambers on Capitol Hill?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think the House is very likely to flip, and the Senate doesn't get as much attention, but Democrats are doing very well in a lot of these Senate races. The one sort of possible way this could work in the other direction, I think there is a plausible theory that this story, as bad as it is, knocks stories that are even worse out of the media. I mean, we could be talking about Iraq right now, the fact that Afghanistan is sliding back into anarchy, the Bob Woodward book. It's conceivable that voters will say, well, that was one rogue sexual predator and there's not a partisan element to that story. It's possible, and if that's the case, it could be a benefit for Republicans, but my guess is actually that the Congress will flip.
I'll tell you what. Lining here.
there is no silver lining. And I was just going to say, Pat Buchanan, if I'm on the campaign stump, I would much rather defend the Iraq War than defend the fact that the
Sure.
speaker is being seen as somebody who's covering up for a pedophile. And look at this Harold Ford quote. He was being attacked. Somebody said that he hung out with Playboy bunnies, and Harold Ford said this: "I'm not going to take a lecture on morality from a party that took hush money from a child predator."
All right, let me tell you something.
Pat Buchanan, that is gold.
Let me tell
That's
you
a
something.
quote that will work in Tennessee and will work around the country.
Yeah, it will. Let me tell you something. Two national figures, Rudy Giuliani, Hillary Rodham Clinton, marched in gay pride parades in New York, in which I believe that NAMBLA floats were moved right along, and these are child predators who are arguing for getting rid of laws
All right,
between
but
men
Pat,
and boys.
that will
They're
not
marching with that.
have
That will
resonance
go
this fall in
not
the
this
elections,
fall,
will it?
2008. It's going to be very, very big because of this, Joe.
And Rachel Sklar, final prediction, where do we go from here in this media scandal?
Well, I think we just sit back and watch it unfold. You know, you try and find as much information out as possible and figure out who knew what when and what their motives were in presenting the information or in deliberately holding it back.
All right.
Including
Joe,
the
and
press,
no serious elected
including the
official in
press.
America supports NAMBLA. I mean, maybe
But
they
can-
wound up
if
in the
they
same
march
place.
with them, look, if I march with a Klan,
Not
I'd have to
intentionally.
answer
There's
with
no
it.
way.
If they've marched
Pat,
with
come
NAMBLA,
on.
they're going to have to answer
All right.
it.
All
Now
right.
they
Well,
are.
they may have to answer that in 2008, but I'll tell you, in 2006, a month from now, the Republican Party is going to have to answer for the events of the past 3 years, where Mr. Foley's former chief of staff said he told the Speaker's office that Mark Foley was preying on young children as early as 1998. Thank